Okay, this is Joe Blasco here at the makeup department at MUATV, and I'm going to show you an encapsulated injury simulation. All right, and Mr. Rick Drake is also our model today, and Travis Pates is observing and is going to do a little help me out a bit here and there where I need it. And what we're doing is we're first going to take a little derma shield, and I'm going to apply the derma shield just like so onto the skin. The skin was first washed real well with soap and water. Nice application of derma shield just to help really get the skin conditioned properly, just like so. A little Pros-Aid adhesive, okay. And with the sponge, we are going to apply Pros-Aid adhesive right onto the surface within the borders of the application of the derma shield, all right? And we're going to dry it. And once you get it to a point where it's almost dry, we can go in and put one more coat within the borders of the first application of Pros-Aid. Now, all of this is going to serve as protection against the rigors of the hot gelatin. And remember, it's not really hot, it's hot when you mix the colors into it while it's in molten form, but you then let it cool and thicken prior to applying it to the skin. So we have a really nice first couple layers of the Pros-Aid so that we have, as I said, a good covering and protection for the skin. All right, the next thing that we're going to do, and what I like to do, is apply just a small amount of a fixer spray, okay, over this, just to take a small amount of that tendency for the Pros-Aid to be sticky. Kind of calms down the stickiness of the Pros-Aid. The fixer spray that I'm using is a Kryolan fixer spray, and it's a water-based fixer spray, which is very compatible with the Pros-Aid. You can actually mix the two together on the surface of the skin, and it works quite well. All right, and then dry them together. All right, so now we're ready for the application of the gelatin. This is the Knox unflavored gelatin type A, and this could be purchased in any supermarket. All right, we're going to take a little, and I'm going to pour it right down into a coffee cup like this. All right, just a small amount, maybe two tablespoons. I'm going to put a small amount, believe it or not, of coffee. All right, that is coffee that has a little bit of non-dairy creamer. I'm going to move it around. You can see this beginning to thicken, all right? And I'm going to add a little more hot coffee to it, just to a tiny bit more, not too much. That's it. Just to get a really nice mixture out of it. We can also take a knife, just like this, and we mix it. Now you see a little more coffee. Now you see the flesh tone that's created by the use of the coffee. Now I want to get a specific consistency here, so we're going to add a slight bit more. And the reason I use the coffee is because, well, it gives it a really nice color, firstly, and secondly, you're always going to find coffee on the set, right? So we do this just like this, a little more, and it's pretty hot now. Mm-hmm. There you go, a little more. There you go, there you go.
There we go.
Just like that. Now, as the coffee is poured in, it will make the gelatin quite molten, like this. And you press the gelatin against the sides of the cup, just like this. And I like using just a styrofoam cup like this because you can throw it away afterwards, all right, without any problem. All right, now I'm going to take a few other cups. All right, now I'm lining up these empty plastic cups. We put a little more coffee into the mix, and this will thicken up quite nicely. All right, and I'm going to pour a small amount, all right, into each cup. Stir it as you go along so that you get a nice consistent amount. You don't want to allow the gelatin to settle to the bottom. And right here, I've got a Faber-Castell set, and I'm taking black, and I'm taking red, and I'm going to take a little green. Okay. I'm going to shave a little of the red into the gelatin, just like this. This is non-toxic pastel. Okay. We're going to make a red one. We're going to make a black one. Now you can use blood if you like. You know, the simulated theatrical movie blood to color it. You can use food coloring. I like using these pastels because there's just so many colors to choose from. You shave it down. I also like using pastels like this for certain avant-garde type makeups. Okay. All right, I'm going to transfer these over here, just like so, onto this palette. I have my red, my black, and my green. And I've got, let's have a little more. Is there any more of the gelatin? Let's see. Okay, I'm going to pour a little more gelatin into this. And in this one, I'm going to pour a few drops of blood, just like that. All right, now I'm going to mix the blood. And you see how that all comes together? Look at the color. Great. Real good blood color of gelatin. Now let's do this color of red. All right. You work that right down into the gelatin. Here we go. And it works itself right down into the gelatin like this. Okay. So it gives it a really nice translucent red coloring. And we do a little translucent green. Move that right down into the gelatin. Just like this. Okay. And again, same thing with the black. Now, mind you, depending on what you're doing, you can mix all different types of colors and have a really creative time doing this. We have a few of these chip brushes here, and I'm going to take the first brush. I'm going to dip it down into this. This is the black gelatin, and I'm going to feather this out all the way around. And it's very, very translucent. As it dries, it becomes darker. Now I'm going to go into it a little more, like this. Okay, now I'm switching to another brush, and I'm going to take the blood color gelatin, okay, and I'm going to work it into this, like this, okay, just like this. I'm working it into the gelatin that's already there, like that, just like this. Okay, and then I'm taking a clean brush, and I'm going to feather this out all the way around like this. Because what I'm going for is a very, very thin burn, all right? I want it to appear as though he's got a real thin burn on the surface of his skin. Okay? Real thin. And remember, you don't want to do a lot of buildup. If you build up too much, then it's going to look artificial. You want it to have dimension, and you want it to be thin. Now, do you see how this black is creating a rim around it, right? Like a little bit of charring. We can take and add a little more of the black, and I can just ever so slightly drop it. Just like this, right along the edge. Just like that. There you go. And you can even leave it in puddles, because what will happen is it'll look like large areas that have blistered. And as the gelatin begins to thicken, you can actually mold it and work with it in a way that will really create some pretty outlandish effects. And you can move it around, and it'll look as though the skin is actually all charred and really melted. The black, mixing the black creates a really nice translucency, you know, and you go around your burn with it, you know. And remember, you know, the burn shouldn't have a real definite edge to it unless, you know, it's a burn that's caused by, you know, a hot iron, or, you know, something that's going to leave a brand, you know, like a branding iron, you know, or an iron. Like if you remember the movie Home Alone, one of my graduates, Ron Wild, created a great effect on Joe Pesci's forehead. I think it was Joe Pesci's forehead, when he's hit with an iron on his forehead. And so we blend this down, and you see, if you remember, that burn was a very definite burn. All right, now I'm going to take and put a small amount. I'm going to put a little green, actually. Take a little of this green. I'm pushing my brush way down into the green, because sometimes that green will settle. All right? You know, you can even use a pellet. You can even use a pellet like this, you know, to further mix it if you want. But I like, you know, seeing some of the granules. I think that it gives a nice mottled look on camera. All right, so we're going to take a little of this green, and we're going to work the green right kind of over it here and there and around the black area. And what you'll notice is as the gelatin begins to dry, to harden, to congeal, to somewhat coagulate, the pigments, and all of it, will darken. And it's going to look like a really raw-looking burn on camera. And the red that we put on first is seen through it. And it looks as though, it's going to look as though the skin on the surface is charred away. And I'm going to take a little bit of black and put a little more black onto it. Work it out like this. You don't want it to have drips, all right? You want it to look very thin. It's all about thin, 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 all right? Just like that. Work it around. And I like then to take, I'm going to take a little bit of this other red, all right, the red that we mixed with the pastel. I'm going to put it right here. I'm mixing the red with a little bit of black, all right? And you can be very creative with this, as I said. And I'm just going to go right around the whole exterior like this. I'm going to lay it on first, just like that, making sure that it doesn't drip. Just like this. Any drips can be wiped away real quick. All right. Okay, I'll let this set up. All right, and I'm going to take some witch hazel. And this is witch hazel. And with a brush, now I'm going to use an 1.5 inches wide. I'm going to spray a little witch hazel all the way around. I'm going to put a little right here down on the palette. Witch hazel onto the palette. You can dip it. You can dip it down into the witch hazel. And you lightly, with the witch hazel, work around the burn to help to further blend all of the gelatin. The witch hazel melts the gelatin down around its edges, all right? I like using the spray because it just dispenses just enough, all right? And you can blend it real easily, okay? And I like the fact that it will also drag some of the redness out, just like that. And you can go over it and actually smooth, like this, over the surface of the burn, like that, all right? Now we're going to take a little of our Fix-Eater spray, and I'm going to put a nice amount of Fix-Eater spray all the way around, like that. Just like that, and I'm going to dry this. We're going to apply some liquid latex over it, just like that. And we're going to take a little more, please. That's good, that's good. Whew, got enough there for an army. Thank you, sir. We'll transfer this over here, and I'm going to just very lightly apply this, and quickly all the way around. Blend out the edges so they really fan into the skin. And I'm looking to create a really broken, skin burned look. And I want a lot of texture, and I want a lot of this to lift. And that's why I put that sealer in there, so that this will actually not grab completely, and it'll peel away. Now I'm taking a stipple sponge, just like so, all right, just like so. And I'm going to use the stipple sponge to lightly go around, stipple like this. And this will blend out real well. And we'll dry this. Just like that. Now while that's drying, I'm going to take a small amount more of this gelatin, all right, and I'm going to coat around like this slightly. This is thick now. This is thickened gelatin, like this, all right, in the inside, all right, right in the inside. Like that. I'm going to spray it. Hang on. I'm going to spray it with a little witch hazel, and I'm going to apply a little more latex right onto it. I'm going to keep this latex like within the borders of everything that we've already created, all right? Dry it real well. And I'm going to take a small amount of dark powder, like this. All right, dark pressed powder, and I'm going to take a little of the medium pressed powder, mix it together, just like this, and blend it into the puff to create a color tone that's close to his skin. And I'm lightly going to go around and knock down the shine from the edges. Just like this. Now, do you see what's happening as I go around? You see here how that's creating a skin tone, and it's knocking down the shine of the latex. All right, do like this, just like that. All right, just like that. I'm going to take a little more of the dark wherever I feel I might need it. Okay, a little more dark, that. And I like to have a little bit of a highlightation of color around it to give it as though it's like it's burned around its edges. All right, now as this is continuing to dry, I'm going to take now and put flesh tone onto it. All right, putting flesh tone right onto it like this. And I'm using powder. All right, just like this. And I'm going to take now a little of my bronzing powder. This is the bronzing, Joe Blasco bronze powder. And I'm going to work it around the edges also. And a little here and there on the surface, like that. Okay. Then I'm going to take an orange wood stick, and I'm going to begin playing. Here's where you get the effect of skin that's broken and burned. Okay, and you can allow this to lay on it. You can take it and manipulate it with your fingers. Dig into it like this. Work it around. Just make it disgusting. And the whole trick here is to get it as thin as you can and to give it a lot of dimension. And then you're going to put a little bit more coloring down into it. Actually, I'm going to take some alcohol. I'm going to take a little alcohol, tattoo inks like this. And just remember, what we're doing here is trying to create a really wicked but very thin burn. All right, and we want a little charring too. Okay. And you know, sometimes the tissue will have a whiteness to it when it burns like that. I'm going to take a little bit of black. I'm just going to lightly do this. Okay, right on the edges. All right, now, lightly, just going to go over this with a little more flesh tone, like that. And I'm going to seal this back with a little more fixator spray. So it's going to give it a raw, really charred, raw, fresh, angry look. Try it. Good. All right, I'm going to take a small amount of just regular old creative color. And add a little of this around the outside to dull it slightly, to give it a little redness. And lastly, but not least, a little more powder overall around its edges to mute all of the outside and to help blend it. You see how this all wrinkles up, and it appears as though we have a really severe burn. And we can, in fact, go over it with a little powder here and there, just to bring back a little of that skin. And then, once again, just lightly hit it, because what happens is the pigment mixes with the fixator spray. Lightly hit it with a little bit of fixator spray like this, and it brings back a really wicked shine. All right, and we can take a tweezer, kind of play around with some of the stuff, all right, that's hanging off it, like this. Lift this stuff up. And if you really want to add just a little more highlightation to it, we can take a little yellow prosthetic makeup like this, all right, and just highlight some of the edges, just to give it a little more pickup. Okay, all right. So you can see how this moves. It's very, very thin, and it appears as though it's really a very severe, but yet very close to the surface of the skin burn. You see that? See the movement that you can get with this? A lot of movement. Now you can manipulate this and you can move it around because it's been built up in layers. All right, and you can experiment with this, and you know, you can always add a little more. Like if you're, like right now, I think that some of the yellow might be a little overpowering. So I'm going to put a little more a little more spray, a little fixer spray on it. And I'm just going to go in and kind of tone it down a little here and there. Now this will last and last and last. If you really want this to last all day, once this is good and sealed in, you can go over it with one more layer of latex and then just dry it, and it will seal in beautifully. I don't think it's really necessary. He's going to have a hard enough time taking it off now as it is, all right? So this is an encapsulation process. You can do, this, you can do burns like this. You can do, ripped skin. Now, obviously, if you're going to do a ripped skin, all you're going to do is just build it up with coffee and gelatin and encapsulate the skin within 2 layers of latex and then powder it over, all right, with your flesh tone powders, or you could use prosthetic makeup base if you want over it and then powder it, and then you rip it open. All right, you rip it open and then you throw a little bit of a light pink tone in there to simulate the dermis that's beneath the epidermis, all right, the underlying layers of skin. So this is an interesting type of construction makeup, all right, that you have to experiment with, and you should be able to do this right on the spot. So what do we have here? We put down some Prozade adhesive. We then went over that with latex, and we did a few layers also in between the latex and the Prozade, and on top of the latex, a little of the fixer spray, right? So that you're then able to go over. You could actually add cotton to it if you wanted to add cotton to it at that point. You could take and coat some matte adhesive, spirit gum, right over that, and add cotton to it, and then go over, spray that with a little fixer spray, and then manipulate the cotton around, or paint gelatin into the cotton, and then move it around with an orange wood stick or with a palette knife, and you create the texture and the look and the line of the skin and the serration, the design of the serration. And then you seal that in real well with latex, dry it real well. You can even color it before you seal it in with latex, or you can color it afterwards, or both, a little of both. So here you have a construction burn makeup using all of those materials. All right? We're going to have more makeup programming on NUA TV right now.